In Palestine, the Israeli regime launched over 50 airstrikes in Rafah, killing more than 100 people. In Egypt, the government reinforced security on the border with Gaza and warns that if Israeli forces take control of the border region, it will be seen as an act of war. And in El Salvador, opposition parties withdrew from the final vote counting of the legislative elections following numerous irregularities. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Palestine, hundreds of citizens were killed by Israel after at least 50 airstrikes perpetrated by the occupation forces in the city of Rafah, south of Gaza Strip. According to local media, more than 100 people were killed and more than 230 were injured, mostly women and children, some of whom were transferred to the Kuwait hospital. In this regard, authorities at the health center warned that they do not have enough supplies to care for the large number of injured. It is reported that the attacks affected 14 civilian homes and 3 mosques in the north and center of the city. Bombings occurred after the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, ordered in previous days the carrying out of a raid in the city of Rafah, where about 1.5 million Palestinians are taking shelter after the devastation of their homes in areas of the Gaza Strip.
What happened was that the children were asleep. Suddenly, they woke up asking me what happened. I came out of the tent and found only dust, smoke, and gunpowder. I saw the helicopters and the planes, many bombings. A missile fell near the area. Everything was confusing. I screamed, trying to call the people in the other tents to alert them. No one knew what was happening. I left, leaving the children in an almost safe place, because if death is going to come, the nylon of the tent is not going to stop it. Then I came out to see what was happening.
Relatives and rescue teams continue the search for people on the debris after Israel's deadly attacks on Rafah on Sunday night. According to the Palestinian Red Crescent, there are not enough number of ambulances to rescue the injured. The attacks devastated different areas of the city of Rafah, including the Al-Shabura neighborhood. Medical sources report that in the recent 24 hours, Israel committed 19 massacres against the civilian population of the Gaza Strip. Since last October 7th, the occupation army has killed 28,340 Palestinians and injured more than 67,000, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health. On Monday, the government of Egypt stated they reinforced security on the border with Gaza due to Israel's offensive against the Palestinian region. In this sense, the Egyptian security forces confirmed that in the last 2 weeks, 40 tanks and armored personnel transport vehicles were sent to the northeast of Sinai. In this sense, the Egyptian government reiterated that if Israeli forces the Palestinians to leave Gaza or takes control of the border between Gaza and the northern Sinai, it would be understood as an act of war and on the part of Tel Aviv, and in turn could threaten suspending the Camp David's agreements with Israel, which ended the war between both states that started in 1948 and ended in 1978. Should be noted that suspending the Camp David's agreements would put regional stability in check. The government of Saudi Arabia warned Israel about the consequences of an incursion in the city of Rafah, while stating its rejection of the forced deportation of this population. Riyadh Foreign Ministry issued a statement in which they warned the Tel Aviv regime that the incursion of its military forces by ground into the city of Rafah in southern Gaza would lead to a series of extremely dangerous repercussions for the civilian population. This when remembering that Rafah is the last safe refuge for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who have forcibly left their homes to flee the persistent Israeli bombings. In Italy, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters took to the streets to demand an end to the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip. Demonstrations took place after Israel's most recent attacks that killed at least 44 Palestinians, including over a dozen children, in Rafah. Activists said that after 4 months of Israeli siege on Gaza, more and more people have come out in Italy to demand an end to the illegal occupation. So far, over half of the 2.3 million inhabitants of Gaza are taking refuge in Rafah after following Israeli evacuation orders. The Israeli regime currently occupies 2/3 of Gaza. In Spain, dozens of demonstrators gathered on Saturday inside a shopping mall in Valencia, calling to boycott the French supermarket franchise Carrefour for supporting the Israeli regime and its war crimes in Palestinian territory. Activists waved Palestinian flags as they walked through the supermarket, chanting slogans like genocide and boycott Carrefour. And in the United Kingdom, citizens rallied in Manchester City to demand an immediate ceasefire and an end to the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip. Protesters chanted slogans such as "End the occupation now" and carried placards saying "Stop the massacre in Gaza." At the same time, demonstrators condemned the British government's complicity with the extremist Israeli government of Benjamin Netanyahu. And with TeleSUR, you can now celebrate one of the largest festivals in the South American continent. Gladys Quesada brings you all the details in this Carnival Time 2024. Tune in every day this week at 7 p.m. Caracas time through our Facebook Live at TeleSUR English Official and X account at TeleSUR English, and discover our most colorful celebrations. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Germany, thousands of people took to the streets in Munich for the Sea of Light in defense of democracy. Activists condemned the far-right racist and anti-Semitism actions. According to official sources, over 75,000 people participated in the demonstration opposing the rising German far-right. Citizens carried lanterns and flashlights while chanting slogans in defense of democracy. For 3 weeks now, large demonstrations have been held after it came to light that members of the Alternative for Germany party had meeting with neo-Nazi groups to expel migrants from the country, including some with German citizenship. In Hungary, hundreds of left-wing activists protested against the Day of Honor, an annual event of the far right that honors Nazi forces. Activists marched through downtown Budapest alongside a strong police deployment, demanding freedom for all anti-fascists. The protest was held amidst the arrest of Italian anti-fascist Ilaria Salis. Salis is currently detained in an Hungarian prison for allegedly being involved in violent acts against those participating in the Day of Honor commemorations last year. Every year, the far-right honors a failed attempt by Hungarian Nazi soldiers to escape Budapest during the Red Army siege of the city in 1945. In Finland, former Conservative Prime Minister Alexander Stubb won the nation's presidency in Sunday's second round. Stubb received 51.4% of the votes, while his rival, Pekka Haavisto, got 48.6%. Some 4.3 million voters were called to elect the nation's next president. The changing geopolitical landscape in Europe will be the main concern for the new head of state, who, while having limited powers compared to the Prime Minister, leads the country's foreign policy together with the government and acts as Supreme Commander of Finland's armed forces. Stubb defended further military aid for Ukraine and promised deeper cooperation with NATO, allowing for the movement of nuclear weapons through national territory. The Russian government described as economic banditry the European Union's plans to use the profits from frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed in a press release their disapproval of what they described as new attempts by Western countries to confiscate their sovereign reserves. They also denounced the plans of the joint West to use Russian assets to support Kiev, since the bloc's debt is already huge. The Russian authorities also reminded that all such action constitute a serious violation of international law. The Russian anti-aircraft defense intercepted and destroyed on Saturday 3 Ukrainian drones flying over the province of Bryansk. The Ministry of Defense informed that Moscow prevented a new terrorist attack by Ukrainian forces. The agency detailed that no human lives were lost, as there were unmanned aerial vehicles. Russian civilians denounced the regular impact of shells, the presence of drones and other attacks by Kiev on the Russian provinces bordering Ukraine of Belgorod, Bryansk and Kursk, forcing these populations to seek refuge elsewhere. In Peru, around 334 areas in the Central Highlands were declared as critical due to the danger of landslides and floods caused by heavy rainfall. According to the National Service of Meteorology and Hydrology of Peru, moderate to heavy rainfall is expected in the highlands and moderate to extreme intensity in the north coast from this Sunday to Tuesday, February 13th. Also, they warn about the possibility of rainfall with hail in localities 2,800 meters above sea level. There will be snow in areas 4,000 meters above sea level in the central and southern highlands. In view of this situation, the agency called on the population to protect and reinforce the roofs of their homes, as well as to establish an early warning system by means of whistles, bells, alarms, sirens, or loudspeakers in coordination with local authorities. In Argentina, more than 387 people and 18 brigades continue working to extinguish the fire in the Los Alerces National Park, located in Chubut. The Department of Fire Communications and Emergencies reported that the fire in the national park affected at least 7,808 hectares and continues active. Likewise, the National Meteorological Service reported a storm with electrical shocks from the north of Neuquén and stated the due monitoring for the possibility of it extending to the south of Chubut. In this sense, tourist services work normally and citizens are recommended to drive with caution on the route near the national park. On the other hand, a yellow alert has been issued in 7 provinces and an orange alert in Buenos Aires after heavy rainfall. In this sense, the National Meteorological Service forecasts rainfall values between 50 and 80 millimeters that could be exceeded. Scientific entities recommended to stay away from coastal areas and light poles or power lines. It also recommended to always have an emergency backpack ready with a flashlight, radio, documents, and telephone. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. One short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the south. On Sunday, in El Salvador, opposition parties announced that they withdraw from the final scrutiny of the legislative elections after report irregularities promoted by the ruling party. In this way, the president of the Arena party, Carlos Garcia Sade, reiterated that the measure is due to the Supreme Electoral Tribunal not providing the conditions for a transparent process. In this sense, he stated that they were witnesses of the manipulation of the system, counted and criticized the entry of vigilance without credentials from Nayib Bukele's party, despite being prohibited. In this sense, also representatives of the Vamos parties, Nuestro Tiempo and Arena, stated they consider requesting the nullity of the election of deputies to the Legislative Assembly due to the anomalies in the electoral process on February 4th. In the Ecuadorian province of Cotopaxi, the indigenous movement held its first march against the administration of President Daniel Noboa. Representatives of the indigenous peoples marched through the streets of Latacunga City, claiming for increased security and for their right to implement their own justice system. Also, demonstrators denounced the lack of health services, education, employment, and the increase of the value-added tax introduced by Noboa. This is considered the first protest of indigenous movements against the administration of President Noboa and his measures to tackle organized crime. In Ecuador, also, the authorities are running security operations in state prisons, mainly in the El Litoral prison, due to inmate links with organized crime. Regional Police Chief Freddy Goyes said Friday that during the Carnival holiday, they will continue with searches and censuses in the country's prisons. He said they will continue taking action against inmates with links to organized crime. Since January 9th, the Ecuadorian government is waging war against organized crime. So far, they have executed 1,341 arrest warrants, with some 200 of those detainees allegedly being involved in terrorist actions. In Trinidad and Tobago, Children's Carnival recreates and educates at the same time. With the details, our special envoy Gladys Quesada.
It could be said that Trinidad and Tobago experiences the carnival twice. One is the great bacchanal that fills the city and is already famous in the world. The other one is the Children's Festival, a junior carnival, so to speak. For the children, these days are a vacation but not a rest. They change their uniforms for the satin costumes, the sequins, feathers, and headdresses. The public admires them and flocks to the central station Savannah Park to watch them parade. Many of the spectators also have other reasons for coming to cheer them on.
To give the children that support so that they're able to come out, because we had our time already.
So especially for the young folks, I think it's very important to, like you said, for the culture to learn about history, and we're losing it around the world, in America, but it's great that something like this still exists.
It is their heritage. It's part of their culture. There is no reason why they shouldn't participate and have fun with it, you know. So this is who we are. This is what we are about, you know. So it is a natural thing.
For them, it is a moment of protagonism in which they imitate part of what their elders do. Before arriving on this gigantic stage, they rehearse, prepare the costumes, and learn choreographies. The categories are a challenge to the imagination: innovation, fantasy, and traditional. Under that premise, they must develop the theme of their choice, ranging from local nature to futuristic themes, iconic landscape postcards, or a tribute to neighboring nations. All this is first conceived by the teachers who, through fun, educate them.
Learn how to jump up, socialize, and have fun with their department and their girls, their friends. So they had fun learning about the Boca Reef and the different aspects of Tobago.
According to the rules, children from 5 to 12 years old parade here, but the reality is that everyone wants to be here. For this reason, first come the youngest ones who even need assistance from their parents because they are still in preschool and even babies. They come the most advanced in age. 68 bands make it to the final in front of a specialized panel of judges. Some parade as a group, others are the start of the theme. Some of them help out, but all want to win. Despite the competitions, the most important thing is always the enjoyment and the camaraderie.
I love it. I love it. It's so much fun. You know, it's the time to just free up.
Yes, it's very fun, and I think I will do it in the future. Like, I walk on stilts. Sometimes I'm a Moko Jambi. It's really fun.
I was helping. I am 10 years old, and I helped with my band. It's called the Balatas. I really enjoyed it. It was really nice.
Without interfering in what their children are doing, the parents also take action. They are well aware that this is an activity that not only brings entertainment to their children, but also values that bring them closer to their folklore, their national identity, and culture.
Oh, it's always a lovely time at Sacred Heart. So it's like our, fourth year, fifth year, and it has been a good time.
Definitely. Carnival is part of our culture in Trinidad and Tobago, and the girls learn about it in school as well. So it's great that the school gives them the opportunity to parade.
The children's carnival, although made by little ones, is as important and expected as the adult one. They may not know it, but they safeguard a beautiful tradition for the future when they will also teach other generations the values of carnival. Gladys Quesada as special envoy from Port of Spain in Trinidad and Tobago.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.